Imagine wandering into your sun-dappled kitchen on a crisp autumn afternoon, the kind where fallen leaves crunch underfoot outside and the air carries that earthy promise of the season turning. There, on the wide windowsill, sits a cluster of old glass jars, each one holding nothing but clear, shimmering water and a tangle of living green that seems to pulse with quiet life. No dirt under your nails, no bags of potting mix cluttering the floor, just these graceful stems sending roots like delicate white threads into the liquid. Leaves unfurling in the soft light like they're whispering secrets from another world. It feels almost like magic, doesn't it? Yet, it's the simplest kind of gardening, the sort our grandparents knew by heart before fancy soils and fertilizers took over the shelves. These plants don't just survive in water, they thrive, turning your home into a miniature indoor oasis that echoes the wild riverbanks and misty forest floors where many of them first learned to grow. In my own little homesteading corner, I've come to cherish these water dwellers as faithful companions through the long European winters and the humid summers back in the States, where light shifts and temperatures dip low enough to challenge even the hardiest souls. They remind me that sometimes the most sustainable path is the one that skips the soil altogether, letting us focus on clean water changes, a dash of natural light, and the gentle rhythm of seasons without the mess of overwatering woes or fungal battles in heavy pots. Let's wander through this watery wonderland together, shall we? I'll share the stories of 20 remarkable plants that have brightened my sills and could do the same for yours, each one with its own personality, its quirks to watch for, and those small victories that make tending them feel like chatting with old friends over a cup of herbal tea. First, picture the trailing marvel that seems almost indestructible. The one with heart-shaped leaves in shades of deep emerald or splashed with creamy gold. Often called devil's ivy in hushed tones of admiration, this vine has a way of forgiving every forgotten water change during those busy harvest weeks. In my experience, a simple cutting snipped from a neighbor's overflowing plant roots in tap water within days, sending out specialized underwater threads that drink in oxygen like they're born for it. Place it near a north-facing window in your temperate zone during those short December days, and it keeps cascading down without complaint, its leaves catching the low winter sun in a way that warms the whole room. Watch out for cloudy water, though. That's a sign to refresh it weekly with a quick rinse under the faucet to keep algae at bay, especially in warmer American summers where humidity can creep in. Paired with a few pebbles at the base for stability, and you've got a living curtain that softens harsh light and brings a touch of wild woodland edge right indoors. Then there's the elegant imposter that looks like bamboo but carries centuries of good fortune in its segmented stalks. Grown along misty river edges in its homeland, this one stands tall in a vase of water and pebbles, its tufts of slender leaves unfurling steadily year-round. I remember tucking one into a sunny spot during a particularly gray February in the Midwest, watching it hold its vibrant green through the chill while outdoor gardens slept under snow. It asks so little, just consistent water levels covering the roots and a change every couple of weeks to stay fresh, perhaps filtered if your local supply runs high in minerals that could brown those tips. In European cottages with cooler, drafty windows, it adapts beautifully, even sending up new shoots that feel like quiet promises of spring. The pebbles aren't feeding it, they're just gentle anchors, letting you create a sculptural display that doubles as a natural air freshener with its subtle, clean presence. Heart-shaped leaves on trailing vines have a special place in cottage gardens, evoking those old kitchen windowsills where grandmothers coaxed life from scraps. These glossy beauties, with their bronze or variegated patterns, root almost overnight in plain water, their nodes swelling into robust systems that sustain them indefinitely. One spring, I started a few in recycled jam jars after pruning back an overgrown houseplant, and by midsummer, they were draping elegantly over the edge of my potting bench, leaves shimmering like polished stones after rain. For you as gardeners in humid southern zones, keep an eye on light, too direct and the edges crisp, but bright indirect from an east window keeps them lush. In cooler northern Europe, they appreciate the humidity from evaporating water, creating a mini microclimate that wards off dry winter air. Change the water faithfully to prevent stagnation, and you'll be rewarded with new growth that feels like a daily gift. Perfect companions for a shelf of drying herbs nearby. Those spidery offspring that dangle like living ornaments on long stems make propagation a child's play kind of joy. With their striped foliage arching gracefully, these plants send out babies already hinting at roots, ready to drop into water and take off like wildfire. In my windowsill experiments, I've watched a single plantlet triple its roots in a week, turning a bare jar into a fountain of green and white that brightens even the shadiest corners during those long, overcast days common in the Pacific Northwest or Scottish Highlands. They're forgiving of varying light, thriving in the dappled shade of a porch overhang come summer, and they multiply so freely you can share starts with friends without ever buying a thing. Pure homesteading magic. Just snip, plop in water, and refresh weekly. The only hitch is occasional brown tips if the water gets too cold from a drafty sill. Easily fixed by moving to a cozier spot. Elegant white blooms that rise like sails on glossy foliage bring a touch of sophistication to water life, adapting from their moist forest floor origins to jars with surprising grace. Transition 1 carefully by rinsing soil from roots and easing it into fresh water, watching as new aquatic threads replace the old over a few patient weeks. In my own setup, these have bloomed through mild European springs, their modified leaves glowing against the glass in morning light, even as outdoor perennials push up from the thaw. For American gardeners facing hot, dry summers, the evaporating water around the base creates welcome humidity without misting fuss. Keep the crown above the liquid to avoid rot, change weekly, and enjoy those occasional flowers as rewards for your care. Proof that even the more refined plants can find home in simplicity. Foliage painted in silvers, pinks, and creams turns a plain jar into living art. These tropical holdouts from Victorian times loving the steady moisture water provides. Their patterns intensify in good indirect light, making them stars on a bright kitchen ledge during those golden autumn hours. I've coaxed cuttings to root in 2 weeks, then watched them unfurl new leaves that seem to shift colors with the seasons, deeper hues in summer sun, softer in winter's low glow across zones 5 through 8. Algae can sneak in during warm spells, so a twice-weekly refresh with room temperature water keeps things clear. And pairing with a trailing neighbor creates a balanced mini ecosystem that supports biodiversity right on your counter. No soil needed to invite beneficial microbes into the water's gentle swirl. Old world charm arrives with those lobed leaves on stems that cascade or climb, rooting with the eagerness of spring bulbs pushing through earth. Snip in the growing season, pop into water, and within days, those aerial anchors swell into white networks that power vigorous growth for years. In cottage windows facing south in milder U.S. climates, they trail like living lace. In cooler European winters, they tolerate the dimmer light without sulking, their leaves a deep, waxy green that holds color through frost outside. A weekly water swap prevents any buildup, and the plant's forgiving nature makes it ideal for beginners experimenting with sustainable indoor greens, perhaps alongside a few forced bulbs for a layered display that feels straight from a storybook garden. Explosions of painted leaves in fiery reds, purples, and yellows bring bold energy to water setups, these fast-rooting cuttings transforming a simple vase into a vibrant statement within weeks. I once started a handful from summer prunings, and by fall they were bushy enough to harvest snippets for arrangements, their colors deepening near a west window where afternoon light plays across the surface. In humid southern states, watch for quicker clouding and refresh more often. In northern zones with shorter days, supplemental light from a grow bulb keeps the hues vivid without fading. Pinch the tips to encourage fullness, and you'll have a living palette that changes with the light, a joyful nod to biodiversity that draws the eye like wildflower meadows condensed into glass. Delicate yet dramatic, these spotted or winged beauties surprise with how readily their stems take to water. Nodes swelling into roots that support tall growth and even flowers under right conditions. From epiphytic habits in nature, they crave that consistent moisture without sogginess, making jars their perfect match. In my experience through temperate shifts, a cutting placed in spring roots reliably, producing leaves that unfurl like secrets in the soft glow of an east-facing sill, while summer heat calls for shaded spots to prevent scorching. Change water twice weekly for these thirsty ones, and consider grouping with humidity lovers to mimic a forest edge. Sustainable, low-waste beauty that proves exotic doesn't have to mean complicated. Arrow-shaped leaves that shift from upright to trailing bring dynamic energy, their aerial roots ready to dive into water and fuel rapid expansion that you can almost measure day by day. Cuttings establish quickly, new foliage emerging in patterns of green, pink, or white that catch light like stained glass. For gardeners in variable U.S. climates, from rainy Pacific coasts to drier interiors, the steady water prevents those dry soil stresses, though bright indirect rays keep colors true. In European summers, move to a cooler porch corner if heat builds. Winter brings slower growth, easily perked with a weekly refresh. Is the kind of plant that turns a bare windowsill into a living sculpture, inviting you to prune and shape as it grows, fostering that hands-in-the-dirt feeling even without dirt. Striped in silver and deep purple, with undersides that glow like hidden jewels, these lightning-fast rooters show progress almost hourly. Nubs at every node, awakening in water to create a root system that powers inch-a-day growth. Snip, submerge, and within 2 days you're witnessing tiny white threads lengthen, a daily wonder that pulls you back to the jar again and again. In my homesteading tales, they've brightened dull January days in Zone 6 gardens, their purple deepening under good light while tolerating the lower winter rays common in the UK or New England. Refresh every few days to match their vigor, and the pigments reward you with intensity. No fancy fertilizers, just clean water and appreciation for nature's eagerness. Massive, perforated leaves on sturdy stems prove that bold drama fits waterculture too. Those natural aerial roots adapting seamlessly to jars large enough to cradle them. Start with a section including one leaf and root, and watch new growth emerge as the plant draws nutrients steadily, perhaps with a drop of organic seaweed tonic every other change for extra vigor in nutrient-hungry phases. Through seasonal rhythms, they've held their splits and holes in my setups during mild European springs, leaves expanding like slow-motion fireworks in the light. For hotter American summers, ensure good airflow around the container to mimic breezy forest canopies. Winters call for brighter spots to prevent legginess. It's a showstopper that reminds us big beauty thrives in simple vessels. Thick stems with creamy patterns turn what might seem like bare sticks into fresh starts. New shoots and roots emerging in tandem for a transformation that feels almost alchemical. Sections placed in water during active growth yield patterned leaves within weeks, their preference for even moisture making jars ideal over fluctuating pot conditions. In temperate zones, I've seen them steady through autumn chills on a protected sill, leaves unfurling without the tip burn that plagues soil growers in dry indoor heat. Weekly changes keep the water lively, and grouping with trailing types creates layered interest. a sustainable way to recycle older plants into new life that echoes the cycles of a backyard compost pile. Spiky architectural forms bring steady, unhurried presence, their woody stems and crown of leaves adding height and form without demanding speed. Slow but reliable, they endure in filtered water for years, efficient with resources, as if remembering drier native spells. Use distilled if fluoride worries arise in your tap, common in many U.S. municipal supplies, and change bi-weekly for stability. In cooler European winters, they hold color near moderate light. Summers see them appreciate a shaded outdoor nook for fresh air circulation. It's the patient guardian of the windowsill, offering quiet resilience amid busier trailing companions. Folding leaves that pray at night and dance with the sun add movement and pattern magic, their high humidity loving ways perfectly suited to the evaporative mist from water jars. Cuttings root steadily, new foliage arriving with veins of red or white that track light daily. In humid summer zones across the south, they flourish unchecked. In drier northern winters, the setup creates its own gentle climate, warding off crispy edges. Refresh weekly and position for filtered brightness to preserve those nightly rituals. A living reminder of nature's rhythms that invites you to pause and notice the small wonders each dawn. Compact perforated cousins to larger relatives offer the same exotic holes and splits in manageable sizes, trailing or climbing with ease as roots establish fast from nodes. They mimic epiphytic lifestyles, thriving indefinitely with diluted natural feeds every couple of changes. I've watched them vine across sills in variable climates, leaves developing fenestrations best in bright but indirect spots, slower in deep winter shade but perking come spring. Pair with upright forms for balance, creating a self-sustaining display that brings forest floor intrigue indoors without a speck of soil. Deep purple stems and lance leaves root with such speed that morning setups show evening progress, nodes activating like eager signals in the water. Their succulent feel and intense color deepen near sunny windows, turning jars into dramatic accents. In warmer U.S. regions, twice-weekly refreshes match the growth. Cooler European zones see steadier pacing with weekly care. Pinch for bushiness and you'll have cascades that feel alive with purpose. A fast win for gardeners craving quick results amid slower outdoor seasons. Kitchen herbs like this one turn water into a perpetual harvest. Leaves ready for teas or garnishes as stems root vigorously and branch anew with each snip. Varieties from spearmint to chocolate fill the air with scent, contained perfectly without soil takeover. In my counter setups, they've provided fresh picks through winter thaws in Zone 7, the water keeping foliage clean and growth constant under bright light. Change often to fuel the pace, and you'll have a self-replenishing supply that saves market trips, embodying that homesteading spirit of abundance from little. Its flavorful partner completes the edible pair. Stems from fresh tops rooting quick to yield bushy growth for pestos or salads right where you cook. Oils in the leaves can cloud water, so frequent changes keep it vibrant, with brightest light coaxing fuller flavor and essential scents. Across temperate swings, it thrives near kitchen warmth, slower in low-light winters, but exploding come longer days. Practical proof that food and beauty intertwine effortlessly in glass. And finally, the everyday miracle from your pantry. A humble sweet potato, suspended half-submerged, roots descending